Pearl Jam. Their most recent record came out the same day as Taylor Swift, so we didn't have time to get to it that week. But today we're going to break down and discuss, excuse me, Dark Matter, which came out the same day, April 19th, as Taylor Swift. I'm going to go first on this one. Just going to share a couple quick thoughts on Pearl Jam as a band, really quick, and then go into my track listing and all that stuff in a second. But Pearl Jam, it's funny. They're one of those bands, to me at least, that I got into them later in life as time went on. For my love of rock music has primarily been like the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s of rock and roll, just for everything from Chuck Berry and Elvis Presley up until really up until like Guns N' Roses and ultimately hair metal of the 80s and everything in between, everything and anything in between. Getting into grunge later in life, I knew Guitar Hero. I'm dating myself, but Guitar Hero had like Even Flow on it and Alive and a couple other songs on there. So I got into that pretty quick, and I got into them over time. They're a band that has been around since the late '80s, like '89 or '90, if I'm not mistaken, or '88 to be exact. Now that I think about it, and I've always enjoyed their hits, but as an album, as a band with albums, it's been difficult for me to break into them as a whole catalog. So if I'm not going to torture my friends here and say, let's do a Pearl Jam career discography breakdown, they would murder me. We're not going to do that. Maybe one day, but probably not. But I would call myself a fan of them. I want to go see them live. Kyle's like, no way, absolutely not. But no, but I mean, outside of like 10 being a masterpiece and several things off of Versus and Vitalogy and other hits that had along the way, like Given to Fly, Just Breathe, or The Fixer, Riot Act. There's a couple of really good songs that I like by them, like Who You Are, Worldwide Suicide. There's just some other hits I like by them. So they've always been a hits band for me compared to an album band outside of 10 and Versus and Vitalogy. Those three albums are phenomenal in my opinion. But coming off of Gigaton, which was their 2020 album that came out literally about 4 years ago in April of 2020. That album was very, very like quiet, I guess you could say. That album was very, very different sounding from this record. This was a much more what I would expect from Pearl Jam. This is what I wanted from Pearl Jam, sounding at least in 2024. But let me get right into it, shall we? With Pearl Jam's track listing here. As you know, we do this show. We talk about each song one by one. I'm not going to go too much into it, but here we go. So, Scared of Fear, kicking off the record. When I first heard it, I was like, I'm a little bit nervous. Because, I knew Dark Matter, the singles Dark Matter, I knew the single Running. But the rest of the album, I didn't listen to it until, we said we were going to do this. Scared of Fear, this one's about a 7 out of 10 for me. It's nothing too special, it's nothing too crazy. And then it did, but it set up the record in a good way that I felt was appropriate. And then the record picked up steam. It has a couple hills and valleys, but it picked up steam pretty quick for me on this one. React, Respond. I'm sitting again about a 7 out of 10 here. 7 out of 10 here. Nothing too crazy. I don't want to repeat myself too much, but it's hard to understand Eddie Vedder's vocals to a good chunk of these songs. But I've always felt that Pearl Jam was a band that you wanted to hear them play compared to his singing. On some songs, you do want to hear him. I want to hear him sing, like on Daughter, on Better Man. I do want to hear his voice. Where his voice it's a turnoff for some people. For me personally, I can tolerate. I'm one of the people who I can objectively say that I think Eddie Vedder is a very talented singer. And there's going to be someone here that's going to say absolutely not. But we'll see what happens in a little bit. Wreckage. 8.5 out of 10 for Wreckage. This Wreckage reminded me so much of Daughter from their Versus album back in 1993. It just sounds quite a bit like that one. As you can tell, I'm so excited to talk about Pearl Jam. This is a really great song. I really like the guitar work on it. I really like the way that it sounds like a little nostalgic. Like, hey, we're still keeping it fresh, still keeping it new. We can sound like we did back in the early 90s when we first debuted. Wreckage, 8.5 out of 10 for me. Dark Matter, no surprise here. This is a 10 out of 10. Copy. You knew it was coming. And when I first heard it, though, I had to let it grow on me quite a bit, though. I had to let it grow on me because when they first released the single, the title track as a single, I'm like, all right, you have my attention. You have my attention here. But this title track had to grow on me a little bit more. It took a little bit more time than you might think. It's not just like, oh, I heard it and I love it. It was not like that. I didn't have that experience with this song. But this song, it did grow on me quite a bit. It does hit hard. It's a much more harder sounding record overall for them, compared to like stuff like Given to Fly back in like their early late 90s, or even like Worldwide Suicide from 2006, off the Avocado album. But this is just a great hard hitting track. The one I love, Mike McCready's work on it. I love I've always loved their riff work on their records. I've always loved their riffs in general. But yeah, this is a 10 out of 10 for me. And then Won't Tell, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but I got like a weird U2 guitar riff vibe on this one a little bit. Towards the end there a little bit. There was like some sort of like playing. I'm not sure the exact terminology here, but it's like the way that Mike McCready or Stone Gossard was playing guitar for this record. I got a weird U2 vibe from it. And no, that's no diss to them whatsoever. Because to my knowledge, U2 and Pearl Jam are very good friends. They've known each other a long time. And actually, if you live in North America and have U2X radio, U2 plays Pearl Jam on there like all the time. It's crazy. And Eddie Vedder has stuck snippets of U2 songs into their songs. Like Better Man will lead into, no, not Better Man. They'll play like a part of Bad. They'll play a part of a sort of Homecoming. So the two bands know each other well. In fact, those who don't know this, I don't know if you guys knew this, but in 2006 they actually did a co-headlining concert to end apartheid somewhere, and it was called U Jam. The two bands were playing together. It was kind of cool. So I got U2 vibes from like the Won't Tell someone. So I'm sitting at like about a 7.5, maybe an 8 out of 10 for Won't Tell, just because I like that sound. I like that style of guitar, and Stone Gossard and Mike McCready's guitar would really just worked for this track in particular. That's me. We take a little bit of a dip here with Upper Hand. It is a long song at 5 minutes and 57 seconds, but it feels long at first, and then it kind of picks up a little bit. For me at least. I actually enjoyed this track quite a bit though. I'm saying about a 6.5, could go up to a 7 out of 10. It's not bad. It just takes a little bit of a dip compared to Dark Matter, and Won't Tell for me personally. Waiting for Stevie, track number 7. Not a bad track. It's one of those longer tracks on the record. It's kind of sandwiched in the middle of the record, but it's nonetheless, I feel it's a very good track overall. I'm saying like a 6.5, push it. Probably, maybe not a 7, but I'm definitely a 6.5 out of 10 though for this one though. Running. Damn boy, this is a 10 out of 10. I freaking love Running. The moment I heard him, like, that's a great song. It really shows to me how Pearl Jam can definitely step up there, even after over 30, maybe even pushing almost 40 years of their existence. They could put out a 2-minute 19 track that almost sounds like Ramones length song, but like just a hard driving track. That almost sounds like the Cheap Trick or like the Clash, kind of like just like a fast paced song, but it's just a hard hitting, fast, amazing track. This is a 10 out of 10 for me. I love that single Running that came out. It was just fantastic to me. And then the rest of the record kind of falls into place here. Nothing, something special. Not gonna lie, it's not that special to me. It is something special, but it's not that special to me. This one actually I'm sitting about, like I saw, a 7 out of 10. It's good, but it's not great. I do like how Eddie Vedder's vocals are a lot more clear on this one. When you listen to the record on Spotify, you can actually hear his voice a lot more clear for the record. Again, nothing too crazy. Just your standard Pearl Jam song, sitting out about a 7 out of 10. Like I said, Got to Give and Sun City. I'm gonna kind of cluster together for a second. These are both sitting about like a 7.5 each out of 10. For Got to Give and Setting Sun. Again, nothing too crazy here. It's just kind of just your standard Pearl Jam songs. And I've always loved when they write songs, their titles are not like super long. Like when they wrote like Sirens or Lightning Bolt, those are just like standard tracks. Their titling for songs are not like It's the End of the World as We Know It and I Feel Fine, or like Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding. It's not like long titles, and I love those types of songs with long titles, like Elton John's got them, whatever. But I like short title songs with fast. I mean, that's why I like the Ramones so much too. I mean, they have like 7-Eleven or Blitzkrieg Bop. It's got that kind of like feel to it. I do like that quite a bit. But overall, for Dark Matter by Pearl Jam, it's funny. As I will say though, this is a step up for them from Gigaton, which was when I first heard it, I was like, really, this is Pearl Jam? I was like shocked because the two hit singles from Pearl Jam's Gigaton were Super Blood Wolf Moon. Say that 5 times fast, and And what's the other one? Dance of the Clairvoyants. I remember Kyle and I talked about that when it first came out. Like that single came out, and we were like, it's just standard. It's unique on its own because it features a keyboard in it, and that was different from them at the time. Which it was a pretty standout track on their Gigaton World Tour in 2022 and 2023. But nonetheless, I think Pro Jam is back. I think they realized the not the mistake they made with Gigaton, but they realized, hey, we gotta break it down here. We gotta rock hard, and they delivered what, in my eyes, is a really solid record overall. I'm saying about a 7.75 out of 10 on this one. Nothing too crazy, nothing too special. It is something special though, in my opinion. Yeah, 7.75 out of 10 for Pro Jams. Dark Matter. Just a really good, in my eyes, very good record, just a good sounding record overall. Pearl Jam has already announced tour dates before the album came out, so that kind of gave an indication of where it's going to go. I am going to try and see him at some point. You heard it here first. But yeah, that's going to do it for me.